Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 11th of January. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Sorry. This is a video for paying subscribers at CTM The Bigger Picture subset.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right, great. Let's have a look at ES first. Now, ES, we went and made another new all-time high. We even got over this high here, so it was an actual new all-time high on ES, although we'd already made one on SPX a while earlier, of course. This is looking pretty nice. We've got a possible level top here, and we've got a stiff decline after, well, from basically having closed almost at a high. We're down 40 or so at the time of speaking. This double top could break down. I'm going to come to whether or not I think we've got a possible January high in here yet, and the answer is currently maybe. All right, NQ, we haven't made a new all-time high here. It's the only one that hasn't made a new all-time high, and it was the furthest away. And NQ hasn't really been picking up the pace. We did make this flag target, which was the retest of this high here. We've made slightly higher than that twice so far. Haven't got really any further than that. I'll talk more about that on the RTH charts. RTY went up to a pretty confident new high. We've still got a 6-minute sell signal fix, which the highs for that was so high that even though it's been a normal sell signal would have failed by now. And that's still in play, and I'm thinking that may well make target tomorrow. I'll be watching this trend line. On YM, I've got another trend line to watch there, although that's less relevant because, of course, we haven't actually had a higher high from that. I'd really like to see this go a little higher. That's the case on 2 or 3 of these, actually. And I'll show you why on the RTH charts. DAX has been uninterruptedly going higher. So we do have a little weak negative divergence here, which I haven't marked in because it wasn't there when I did the charts earlier. And ESTX, again, is going higher. So no real sign of reversal here, as it was for last year. US stocks underperforming so far this year, though it is obviously very early days. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And right, looking at SPX. On the SPX chart, we're pretty much back up at the daily upper band here, which is great. So we've made a new all-time high. We do have a potential large double top here. We don't, on ES, again, nice looking potential level top. This looks like a wedge, which is overthrowing here. In terms of the pattern setup, this actually isn't bad to see some retracements here. So this is a pretty nice looking rising wedge here too. On the SPX daily, new week pivots at 69.45, which isn't that far below. We will see, but I am wondering about a high here, and in terms of the inflection point that I was talking about with all the new all-time highs I was expecting, this is that inflection point, but what we're missing so far is the new high on Qs, which I was rather hoping to see. Very nice looking overall level top here, nice looking wedge, which looks as though it may well be topping out. In terms of the 15-minute charts, we've got a few weak RSI 14 sell signals. We had some negative divergence basically at the close of the week, and I think that will be fixing itself over the course of today. In terms of this move up from 65.21, this is actually a pretty nice looking rising wedge, which is overthrowing slightly. So watching that with interest. In terms of the Qs, we're still solidly over the daily middle band, not getting anywhere near the daily upper band, and we're not anywhere close to a retest of. We haven't even retested this high here, which is at 628.40. This one is the all-time high at 636.19. We are well short. Qs have not been, tech has not been recovering. It's still underperforming, and that actually is a bit of a concern. I'm thinking that tech might be underperforming quite a lot this year, depending on where we are in the bubble exactly. But what I'm looking for here is a topping setup, and this currently doesn't look like one. Although we do have, this was a bear flag channel, and it was a nice bear flag channel, and that has broken up, and that has got a target at 636.19. Doesn't need to make it, but normally I'd be thinking it would. In terms of the 15-minute charts, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed, not brewing. So I got that wrong. Oh, sorry, I didn't update that on the chart, but I do go through a lot of charts. Right, it's fixed. Let's fix them now. Better to fix these things rather than fix them later, because if there's a few of them, I'm liable to forget. Okay, looking at Dire. Dire hasn't retested the high, and this is another one where I'm thinking this needs another retest, high retest, to set up a nice looking little level top. RSI 14 sell signal fixed on the hourly chart. It's the only one with an hourly chart where this has happened, but this is from the April low, and this is a lovely rising wedge. It's really nice. Very, very nice indeed. So I'm thinking this looks like a mature pattern, which may well not break up. This may well be the final pattern. It could overthrow, but I think we're probably going to be looking at a decent retracement of this soon. And I've got to say, the second half of January tends to be weaker, and I'm thinking if we're going to top out and start a retracement, this wouldn't be a bad time to do it. But I'd love to see that do a full retest of this high here at 496.25. I would love to see NDX get a bit of a push. Don't know whether that's going to happen. We'll see. In any case, it may well take a while to top out. Topping is a process. Sometimes it's a longish process. We'll see. All right, on the 15-minute, we've only got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, which I normally wouldn't be paying much attention to, and wouldn't be either here. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. Okay, looking at the daily chart, we have made a new all-time high. We've got a pretty nice looking rising wedge there too, and this looks like it's overthrowing. That again is from the April low, and these have both now expanded, the wedges from the April low, because we've gone back up into the obvious and good resistance trend line. So I'm really liking both of these, and this is making me think that we've got a decent inflection point here and that we might be forming a top. In terms of the hourly charts, no current divergence on the RSI 14. We've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing on the RSI 5. We have a pretty nice looking wedge here, up from the 228 and 13 low back in November. On the 15-minute chart, we've got another RSI 14 sell signal fixed. Okay, we got another RSI 14 sell signal fixed. There was a lot to suggest on these charts that we'd see some retracements tomorrow morning, and it looks as though we may actually even complete that before then. In terms of the wedge here, this latest one, this is a beautiful trend line. It's really nice. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the final one, but it's nice. I wouldn't be surprised to see it top out here. So I am wondering about that NDX, NQs and NQ retesting the high. But I got to say, the other ones are looking fairly good for topping out right here. Now, looking at the SPX one, this one hasn't expanded, and we need to go up quite a bit for that to expand, I think. I'm not really expecting it to. I think this is topping out right here. Qs, this isn't a topping pattern. Not an easily recognizable one. There are a couple of options here. For instance, if we drop down into the 5578 area, we've got options to form a head and shoulders, and we've got another one at 550. But in terms of a short-term topping pattern, we haven't really got one here. We did have a head and shoulders which broke down, but that's failed. And generally speaking, that would be looking for a retest of the high as well. So basically, I'm wondering about a retest of the high. We shall see. But otherwise, these are looking pretty good. In terms of DAX, this has just been continuing higher. No current negative divergence on Nikkei. This has been continuing higher. We haven't made the retest of this high here at 52.6, but I've got to say, it kind of looks as though we're owed that. So again, I'm wondering about a bit higher there. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the DX chart. Okay, DX hasn't made the double bottom target yet. I've got that in the 99.35 to 99.43 area, but it's made a lot of progress towards it. We do have a tiny bit of very easily wiped out negative divergence here, so I put in a possible weak 60-minute sell signal brewing. I was saying that I liked the odds of this double bottom making target, and actually I still do. One couple of points though. This is a very, very nice three-touch resistance trend line, and this is making me wonder if we're going to need a retracement here, possibly down to the support trend line before it goes higher. We shall see. Looking at the other currencies, UUSD getting pretty close to the double top target, but hasn't made it yet, and not seeing anything convincing to say that it's not going to. Where a 60-minute buy signal is fixed in the overnight session so far, and is quite a long way towards the target already. GBP USD, we've got a double top here, and it doesn't need to play out, but that's actually broken down now. And that's broken down with a target in the 1.3232 to 1.3264 area. Again, I'm quite liking that target. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed. Again, that's not far away from the target. In terms of USD/JPY, we did have unfinished business above. That unfinished business above is sorted out now. I was expecting to see a retest of this high, and we've now retested it. Nice looking double top here, but nothing really suggesting it's going to turn, apart from a 6-minute sell signal, which is now fixed. But, well, we've basically come back to the highs since then. I mean, this could make target and make no impression at all, so we'll see. Looking at USD CAD, we don't have, we had a little IHS here, when it broke up, it made target. We don't really have anything obvious in terms of a successor pattern here. Possibly an IHS that would run across here. Not wild about it, but it would be valid. All right, I'm going to think about that tomorrow. But that has got potential. We will see. But I think I might draw that in, because actually that would be a valid IHS. I wasn't really looking for it at the time, because obviously, no particular good reason I wasn't looking for it. So we'll see how that goes. I'll have a look at that tomorrow morning. But if that is an IHS, and I think it's got a decent chance of being one, then actually this would be looking for a target about the 140 area, I think. Okay, Australian dollar. We've got a nice looking potential level top or part formed head and shoulders, hasn't broken down yet. 6-minute buy signal is fixed and has now reached the possible near miss target. On NZ, we've got a nice looking double top here, and that's actually broken down. This could also be read as a head and shoulders, but it's a bit ugly as a head and shoulders, so I'm going to treat it as a double top. This has got a target. All right, I haven't marked that in for some reason, but I've got that down in about the 56.40 area, down to about the 56.15 area. So that would be pretty decent target to make too, but this isn't a big issue because, of course, this isn't actually part of the dollar index. That's really just the euro. The main factors in it are the euro, the pound, and the yen, which are basically the reserve currencies. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And hang on. All right. Okay, let's have a look at the US dollar chart. Now, bigger picture, and I got to say, I love the bullish setup here. It's really nice. Trump isn't helping at all. So there's he does a lot of things which frankly are pretty dull and negative. Invading Greenland might be the one which would be most of all. I mean, I don't think there would be a shooting war there, but there would be repercussions, quite serious ones. One of the things that might happen is that, for instance, I think the European Union between them plus the UK plus Canada probably have about $5 to $6 trillion worth of US treasuries. They could start selling those. In fact, actually, Canada's already started a few months ago when they were having a lot of trouble with the US and relations were particularly low. Not that they've improved since. They actually instructed their pension funds and banks that there was now political risk because Trump had been threatening a couple of his banks. So he said there was now political risk and they ought to stop investing in treasuries over the next 12, 16 months. This is already having a pretty serious issue in the municipal market. In the event that actually the Europeans divested, then we'd be looking potentially at US interest rates going up to 10% and the US dollar having a serious break towards no longer having reserve currency status, or at least not being the main reserve currency. I'm just speculating, but if he was really, really planning to screw the pooch on the US dollar and treasuries, he might invade Greenland. Unfortunately, because he's entirely ignorant and most of his... I think anyone who might contradict him has been fired quite a while ago now. So his obedient bunch of sycophants aren't going to tell him this, and chances are they don't even know. So it's, we will see how it goes. But there is the possibility here that Trump is going to totally screw the pooch, and this is going to break support hard, and this bull flag breaks down. In the meantime, he's not really helping. But we do have a nice looking double bottom. It has broken up. That's quite clearly shown on the daily chart here. It's broken up, and I think it's got a shot at getting there. If it was to make the full bull flag target, that would be a full retest of 114.78. I'm very skeptical that that could be delivered with this current administration being what they are and who they are. So we will see how it goes. But I am thinking it could certainly get up higher than this, even if it could only get up to the key resistance up at the monthly middle band in the 102 area. We'll see. No current divergence. All right, looking at obviously this lovely bull flag. As I've mentioned a few times, lovely bull flag on the dollar is matched by lovely bear flags on the euro and on GBP. Whether these can ever make target, who can know? Do we have an obvious topping set up here on the euro? I got to go with no, really. So no divergence either. We are getting into a territory where we could set up some positive RSI divergence. On GBP USD, we've actually got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix. We've got a little level top here. It's too small really to look at on this chart. But I'm quite liking the downside here. In terms of USD JPY, we've still got unfinished business above because I'm thinking we're probably going to see a retest of this high here at 162. As and when we do, we could actually be testing the neckline on an enormous inverted head and shoulders. Although I think this right shoulder would look a little small. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence, but obviously we've now taken out this high at 157.89. USD CAD on the bigger picture, we are trading a range, and we've been trading a range for 10 years. The trading range is basically between 148 and 120. So we're still within that range. There's no particular reason to think that would break out. Would this be a bullish or a bearish pattern? Well, given the USD calendar would go up with the dollar, I think generally speaking the pattern would lean bullish, but I'd be doubtful about that in this instance. I don't really see a huge breakup, which would actually be the Canadian dollar getting weaker and the US dollar getting stronger. All right, in terms of the daily chart, no current divergence, but we're in the territory where we could start setting up a sell signal. On the Australian dollar, we've broken up over this resistance here. This could be pointing higher. Nothing really in terms of the pattern setup suggesting that strongly, actually. On the daily chart, weak RSI 14 sell signal is fixed, and a weak an RSI 5 sell signal or already made target. I do seem to have made a few mislabelings today, which is unfortunate. So I'm just fixing those as I go along. All right, great. Let's have a look at NZ. NZ, obviously on the daily chart, we've got this setup which is breaking down here. We've also got an IHS which is broken up. That IHS has failed. So sorry, I haven't marked that in either. So I should mark that in now. That IHS has failed. This is no longer a valid target to the upside. And hang on. Right, failed, and I think that's going to be 9th Jan. All right, that's giving the downside more emphasis here. So often when an IHS fails, you'll see it go straight back to the lows. So that's actually quite bearish for NZUSD. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bonds. Okay, ZB. ZB, again, is kind of trading a range at the moment. I think this is just consolidating sideways before bonds in all probability go down. If Greenland is invaded, I suspect it's going to go down pretty fast. It's so that would be a major shake in market confidence, and actually would shake the whole world order. Actually, that would it would be something. ZN, we might be trying to break down from this triangle here. Watching this with interest, but it wouldn't take an awful lot to get us back down into a retest of this low. Again, we've got big patterns which are broken down on both of these bonds. Looking at the bigger picture on those, let's have a look at TYX. Okay, TYX, this looks like a bull flag that's broken up. We've got an IHS which is broken up with a target in the 50.2 area. The bull flag target would be a retest of 51.53. I'm liking the prospects for this happening. Certainly the dollar's not, well, the more that we have wild spending commitments without any plan for how at some stage the debt might come down. At the moment, where it looks like we're going to be considerably beating. We were considerably beaten in 2024 in terms of the debt built up in 2025, and it looks as though we might beat that again in 2026. Certainly, if Donald Trump follows through on his 1.5 trillion military budget, then everything gets caught to the wind. The higher the debt goes up without a plan, the more serious this situation becomes. Normally, if you've got a GDP debt to GDP ratio of more than 120 or so, then you're paying minimum 6% interest. That doesn't apply to the US yet, because basically of its reserve currency status. But unless it has some kind of a plan, it's going to apply to it. And obviously, as I mentioned before numerous times, we have an IHS here. If that IHS has got a target, this is on the 30-year yield, at about the 9.5 area. That would mean that 30-year yields, if it reached it, would be at 9.5%. Think about that for a minute. All mortgages would be above that level. Just think about that for a minute. Yeah. What could prompt this? A major loss of confidence in the fiscal policy of the US government. To the extent there is a major bond market revolt, and get over 6% here, and that's a real problem. What are the real world consequences of this? Well, the first thing is that borrowing in America gets more expensive for the government and for everyone else. For everyone else, that causes a lot of pain. For the government, well, okay, at the current levels, the interest service on the national debt will be significantly over $1 trillion this year. If the rate doubled, that would double. So this could start costing, when to go up to 9 or 10%, that could start costing the federal government significantly more than $1 trillion further than it is currently spending on interest every year. That is a problem. That is a big, big, big problem. The US government cannot afford to lose the confidence of the bond markets, but unfortunately, the current administration is so clueless, I'm not even sure they're aware of the risk. All right, but it is a very real risk, and this is a pattern suggesting where that risk might go. All right, looking at TNX, where we have another decent-looking IHS. Again, this one's got a target a little lower. I think the target for this would be just a bit over 9. So a little lower, but not an awful lot lower. Again, do I think that might make target under the right circumstances? Yes. On the weekly chart, no current divergence really. Buy signals reach the possible near miss target. This kind of looks like a bullish consolidation before it goes back to the high, and I think that's probably what it is. In terms of here, we've got an IHS which has broken up, and that's got a target in the 43.9 area. And again, I'm thinking this may all be a flag, which may have a target back up and retest this high here at 46.29. That could complete the IHS. So we'll see. FYX, which I tossed in, this is the 5-year yield. I've started charting this just to sort of get a third opinion on where direction is likely to be going, and this looks like a bull flag triangle. So that is leaning bullish as well. In terms of TLT, this looks a bit different. It is a bit different. Of course, this is the one that isn't government bonds. But I've got to say, this has a potentially bullish tilt to it. This is a possible IHS forming. So this is the only one of them which is really looking potentially for bonds to go up, although it's obviously not been making any real moves in that direction. In terms of the daily chart, we are testing the 50 DMA as resistance. And I'm kind of expecting that to fail. We've got a head and shoulders which has broken down, and it's a nice one with a target at about the 84.70 area, and I'm not seeing anything currently to suggest that won't make target. Having said that, get up to this trend line here, and this could be a bull flag. So I mean, there's more than one direction, as often the case on these things, that this could go, but I think the balance of probabilities likely favors bonds going down, yields going up. In the event that the administration goes entirely insane, then that actually could be an extreme move and take the dollar down with it. Although, I was saying, in the event that we did have a major sell-off in US treasuries from foreign sellers, there would be two pressures on the dollar from that. If interest rates go up to, let's say, 8 or 9% on 30-year yields, that will make the yields very attractive and more people will buy them. But on the other hand, if foreigners are exiting treasuries and dumping trillions of dollars, then it's going to be pretty hard to compete with that sort of weight on the downside on the dollar. My overall feeling is the dollar would likely go down for a while at least. In terms of this, for some reason, I've marked in the possible sell signal here. It's all right, I'll sort it out tomorrow morning. But we've got a possible sell signal, which is actually trying to fix at the moment. We've got a potential level top here. We've sort of been, this has been very, very, very choppy. But this looks like a double top, which may well be breaking down with a target in the monthly pivot area 57.48 with a 60-minute sell signal that will support it. Looking at HO, I've got, this could be a potential inverted head and shoulders forming. I don't particularly like it as that. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed already. RBOB, 60-minute sell signal fixed already. This is breaking up over a double bottom with a target in the 1.856 to 1.863 area. That could deliver, but I'm not seeing an awful lot of evidence for that at the moment. But it is a very nice looking double bottom. NG, hang on, wait a second. Sorry, I just need to move that. All right, NG. I was saying when we got down to retest this low, it was an inflection point, and this could either be a double bottom or it could extend lower. And at the moment, it's extending lower. I do have some positive divergence on the daily chart, though. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. And right, WTIC. Bigger picture, obviously, we've got the wedges, it's broken up. This is a potential double bottom. This could, under the right geopolitical circumstances, deliver a very sizable rally that could take us back into the 100 area. Are we seeing much evidence for that? Not a lot of evidence in terms of the divergences at the moment. We do have nice looking patterns. This is a very nice looking double bottom. Sustained break over 78.4 could get us back up over 100. We will see how it goes. No current divergence. Looking at heating oil, same wedge, has broken up. We had a nice looking IHS which broke up here and failed, which has me leaning towards seeing a retest of this low here at 1.94. Weekly chart, no divergence. Daily chart, no divergence either. This is the IHS that failed. It was a nice IHS, and normally I would see that retest the low at 1.94, so we'll see. Looking at gas oil, we had the same wedge, and it broke up, but it then reached wedge support again, so I've redrawn the resistance through the rally high. We've got a potential double bottom here, not quite as nice as the one on WTIC, because it's extended a little lower. We will see. This could be a wedge, and quite a nice wedge, which is underthrowing here bullishly, but we will see how it goes. No current divergence on this either. On the weekly chart, and nothing on the daily chart. All right, looking at natural gas. Natural gas is actually trying to do a significant break at the moment, and that would be a break below the monthly middle band. I mentioned this last week as support at 3.29, and obviously we closed at 3.14. Now, only a monthly close below counts. But you can see this is actually quite an important resistance level and quite an important support level. If we break the support on a monthly close basis, there's a chance it might, it's kind of like the daily middle band breaks. There's a chance it could reject strongly back above the next following month, but if it didn't, then natural gas is likely to be going down further. So we shall see. Is this overall a bear flag from this low here in 2024? And the answer is maybe. It's not a great looking flag, but it is a possible bear flag actually. And this would be a bear flag megaphone, pretty decent looking resistance trend line there. Not wild about the fact it didn't reach this trend line at the bottom, but it may be about to do that now. So if we see a breakdown below this level here at 250, I'd be leaning towards seeing retest of the fairly extreme looking lows here. I've got 1.686, which is a pretty low low. All right. So we will see how that goes, but obviously this has been a hell of a move down. I do have a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing. At the rate it's been moving, though, if we continue down for a bit more, we'll lose that divergence. So we will see. This is a very, very strong rejection from the highs. All right, great. Let's have a look at precious metals. Okay, GC. Right, I was saying GC, we had this IHS breakup. I was looking for a retest of this high here, and this is a new all-time high. So great. That is what I was expecting to see. Doesn't show up on the RTH charts yet, which of course this is overnight action, but I'm delighted to see it, and I was expecting to see that. But as I mentioned, there was a potential problem there, which is that if we did go back and make a new all-time high, and we were going to do a larger retracement, then that would make a rather nice looking double top, which is what I'm drawing the line in for at the moment. And that, so the question is, it's kind of like the NG thing. The question is, does it stall here, in which case we've got a potential double top, or does it continue to get upside? We will have to wait and see. Right, SI, I was looking for a retest of this high, which we'd seen, and another retest of the high, which we've also seen. So do we have a potential larger double top here? Yes, we already had one. So the question is whether it stops here or it continues higher. Palladium, I'm looking for a move towards this IHS target, which I've got in about the 2010 area, and we're getting pretty close to that. I'm leaning towards, if we see that, I'm kind of leaning towards seeing a retest of this high here too. So we will see how that goes. On platinum, we've got an IHS which broke up here and just survived. Sell signal reached the possible near miss target, and I'm now about to sign it off. Question is whether we're going to go back up to this target, which would be a retest of the high on platinum. We will see. But I think there's a decent chance that we will do that. I think we could see a bit of a run on precious metals here. I am looking at the possibility we might see a retracement starting here, but I'm not taking it particularly seriously unless we see some more evidence of that. HG looks like it is heading back to the high as well. We had a head and shoulders. It broke down and fell so fast that I hadn't even marked in the target. I don't think. What had I? Head and shoulders? No, okay, I had. So this has failed. Normally, as I said, I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest of the high, and I'm expecting that to come next. I'm expecting to see at least some more upside on the metals, which are actually moving together. Normally, I wouldn't be talking about them together, really, but they are moving together for the time being. And they're all looking fairly strong here. I'm expecting to see some more highs, so we shall see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture chart on those. And gold. Gold hasn't made the new all-time high yet on here because obviously that's on the overnight action. It'll need to catch up, but we made a new all-time high. Possible we get a bit of negative divergence on the RSI 5, but I suspect we will lose that divergence. As soon as we make the retest of the all-time high on silver, which I think we're about to, then we will get a very nice looking potential RSI 14 sell signal brewing on the silver daily chart, possibly, and we'll have a pretty nice looking double top there too. Maybe that might deliver, but I'm not entirely convinced. Admittedly, it has had a hell of a run. So if we saw a retracement, fair enough. But I'm not seeing a lot of evidence to suggest that. For starters, Palladium hasn't made target to the upside, and I really like this IHS setup. We've already had an almost identical setup on Platinum, which has already made target, so which obviously had broken up earlier. So I like it to the upside. Not seeing a strong reason to think it's going to reverse. In terms of the Palladium daily chart, we do have some negative divergence. We've got an RSI 14 and an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and that might deliver a bit more downside, but not necessarily before it's delivered some more upside. In terms of Platinum, we've got more negative divergence there too. Weak RSI 14 sell signal is fixed. If we retest this high, then the full size one will start brewing. Weak RSI 5 sell signal is also fixed. Don't know how seriously to take those. Pattern setup has me leaning back towards retests of the highs here. In terms of copper, well, the question here is whether we're looking at a double top here. It does not need to retest the high to give us a double top. In terms of the monthly, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. What's their track record like? Well, we haven't had many of them, but the track records is actually pretty strong. We will see how that delivers. On the weekly chart, we've got no current divergence. We do have this nice looking trend line here, which I drew in quite a while ago, and we've just made target on it. I'm wondering whether this might be resistance, and this might be the overall pattern. When it's something that when we didn't make this, when we made this high here, I did mention that was unexpected, and I thought that would be made, and is now being made. It may be resistance, in which case copper could turn here, then come back down On the other hand, if we're really going to see a huge amount of demand for copper from data centers next year, we might well see it break up. In terms of the daily chart, we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing on copper, and we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. Looking at GDX, lots of divergence on the weeklies, and we've got the same on GDXJ. Not a lot else to hang your hat on here, actually. No negative divergence on the hourly charts. Nothing. Sometimes we get decent indications that we're going to be seeing a reversal here on the hourly chart. Nothing so far. In terms of targets to the upside, GDXJ has one, and that's because it hasn't retested this target yet here, which is at 130.80. I'm leaning towards that target getting made, although obviously we could see a pullback and then come back together. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. KC, we saw a significant breakdown last week. The sell signal, hourly sell signal made target, this double top made target. This has, I was thinking this might go higher. KC now looks as though it might be resuming the downtrend. It does have a trend line to get to in about 350 area, and well, look at the rate that's been going down. We might be reaching that soon. Looking at sugar. This still looks like an overall bear flag forming. CC, we had a very nice looking bull flag channel that broke up slightly and failed very hard. Failed break and then broke down from the bull flags, which is happens about 30% of the time. There's only one obvious target from a break like this, and that is a retest of this low here in the, what would that be, 49, 10, 20 area. And that is the target that I would strongly leaning towards being made. CT, we've got a double bottom which is broken up here with the target in the 66.8 to 67 area. We are pulling back a bit. That's quite usual. And we've got a weak 6-minute buy signal fixed. We could see a fail here, but I'm liking this target, and it's been a long time coming. It's overdue, this move, I think. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll get made, though. Lumber, we retested the low, as I suggested. We would be forming a potential large, very nice looking double bottom here. We have an inflection point where we could have a larger rally on this double bottom, or we could continue down. I'm leaning towards continuation down. On ZW, we've got a very nice looking potential double bottom, and we're getting pretty close to double bottom resistance. 6-minute sell signal is fixed, but hasn't really done anything so far. On corn, 6-minute sell signal reached the possible near miss target. I'm leaning towards seeing some more upside here, mainly because this is a beautiful 3-touch trend line, and as soon as I see a trend line like that, I'm looking around for a matching trend line, and it's likely going to need to go higher to get to that. On soy, potential bottoming action here, nothing particularly clear. 6-minute sell signals reached the possible near miss target already, and the Chinese have not been buying. So I was watching, I saw a YouTube video where a soy farmer was being interviewed. Very stoic guy, salt of the earth, wouldn't like his job. So Chinese have not been buying yet, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But certainly the Chinese are pissed off, and they've been pissed off all year. And whatever Trump says about his relationship with Z, I don't think it's as close as he thinks. He suggests that it is. I think Z doesn't like him at all. All right, in terms of ZL, we've got possible bear flag forming here, and I'm leaning towards the downside. May not happen, but I'm leaning towards that. Live cattle, we've broken up over this resistance here. We've got a new weekly pivot at 234.77, basically up at this level. This looks like a bull flag forming. I'm still leaning towards the upside. On HE, possible double top here, inflection point where it could be a double top, or it breaks up. At the moment, we're waiting to see. It's just trading sideways. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture on those. Okay, coffee. We've got a double top which is broken down here, and then we had a strong move up, and then we've had a significant rejection. This could resume the path to the downside. We've got a double top which is broken down here with a target in about the 2.65 area. And we've got a potential larger double top here with a... Didn't quite make it up to the retest of this high, but so this could also be a flag, but we've got a potential double top here which could take us down a long way. Having said that, it would be taking us back into where it normally has traded over the last 20 years or so. So this like cocoa really went a long way out of its comfort area. In terms of coffee on the daily chart, no current divergence, back below the daily middle band. Sugar. Sugar, the main pattern I've got on here and that has survived the longest is this head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 9 area. And it may well be on the way to that target. It's not in any hurry to get there. No divergence on the weekly chart. A weak RSI 14 buy signal is fixed on the daily chart, and we've been seeing a very, very slow rise. Not a lot happening here, and on the hourly chart, this looks like a bear flag. See cocoa? Cocoa, we've broken big support at 6247, 49. I've been saying that I'm leaning towards the downside, and I'm leaning towards the downside. As you can see, this was the comfort area for a very long time, and we broke up and made a massive move out of it. We may well just be seeing a reversion to the mean here. Looking at the daily chart, RSI 14 buy signals reached possible near miss target, so no obvious signals. This was the bull flag channel that I was looking at on the hourly chart, and that broke down hard. I'm looking for a retest of this low here at 48, 43, 59. Looking at wheat. Wheat, we're trying to break back above the daily middle band, maybe succeeding. No current divergence. We'll see. Quite liking the upside. Corn on the weekly chart. Beautiful looking double bottom here, not showing much signs of breaking up, but I would love to see that break up. No current divergence on the weekly chart. On the daily chart, we've got a weak RSI 14 that sell signal fixed a while ago. We do have a possible wedge which is breaking down here, but we've also got an IHS which is broken up with a target in the 495 area. Competing scenarios, only one of those can deliver. We're holding the daily middle band at the moment, and obviously bulls would like that to continue. Soybeans, obviously we had a spike up when the Chinese were making a deal, and we've got a move down as they've not delivered on that deal. So what we were told by the administration was they'd be buying 12 billion in soybeans, and that's a consolation prize because the previous year they actually bought 25 billion. 25 million tons of soybeans. So they'd only be getting half of that, but actually they haven't even bought that. So this is not great news for US soy farmers, who frankly should be cursing this administration. But actually the guy I was watching today seemed pretty stoic about it. I think you probably have to be stoic if you're a farmer. We've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed here on the daily chart. That might deliver something. Needs to go, if it's going to, it needs to go over the daily middle band, which hasn't been broken since it was all the way up here. So this was when basically the realization was setting in that the Chinese were not buying the soybeans. All right, cotton. We've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal that's fixed. I've got a lovely looking double bottom here, but it's been trading sideways for a long time. Maybe it'll just continue doing that. Lumber, this is a very, very nice looking setup, and it's a bearish setup. This is a very nice bear flag, which I was watching for basically the whole of last year. And we went up and tested the high, and now we're coming back towards the lows, but it's not in any kind of a hurry. What we do have is a double top here, which is broken down with a target in the 352 area, and the flag for the bear flag, as and when it breaks down, would also be back at a low, a retest of the 352 area. So at some point, possibly in our lifetimes, this is going to deliver a very nice move down in all probability. But we've been waiting for a while, and and I wouldn't like to be holding this position because obviously, holding long-term futures positions can get expensive. All right, great. Let's have a look at crypto. All right, crypto. We've got very little happened last week. So in terms of the daily chart, we've been holding the line here. We're still above the 50 MA. We're still above the daily middle band. In terms of the flag, I was thinking we could get back up to flag resistance. As it is, we did make a slight higher high over this 94.2. Maybe that would be enough. Not particularly exciting. I am thinking we may be getting close to the high for January on equities. And if that happens and we start seeing some retracement, chances are crypto is going to go down with that. In terms of signals, nothing really here. Would I like it to go a bit higher? Yes. But we'll see whether it will. Solana, we're at 142. Obviously, we're below the weekly middle band, but I'm not really expecting this to get up to 169. We do have a potential level bottom here, which I was thinking might break up and give us a larger rally. It's been showing absolutely no sign of doing that. And I think this is something I was thinking it might be doing as most of the US indices went back to retest the all-time highs. They've done that. I'm not looking for an awful lot higher, and crypto, we just had a weak rally. In terms of the Solana chart, this is the nice looking double bottom. I've got resistance, looks like it's at 144.91 here, but it's actually at 146.91. Hasn't reached that yet, and ideally, if we were going to see this fail, then we would break up over that level, then we'd fail after that in the next few handles. On Ethereum, again, not particularly exciting. It's holding over the 50 DMA here, holding over the daily middle band. In terms of the flag, I was kind of hoping that it might at least go higher and to get over this high here at 34.55, but we may be forming a bearish triangle, which obviously happens. So if that is the case, then it looks ready to basically drop at any time. And I'm thinking that we're likely to be starting to enter some choppy waters in terms of the equity charts. Now, in terms of the equity charts, what I would say is first half of January leans towards the bullish. Second half of January leans towards sideways to down frequently. In terms of the stats for next week, we've got bullish days on Monday and Friday, and in between Tuesday through Thursday, they're all neutral. So not a strong push in one way or another, but with definitely a bullish overall bias. We shall see whether that delivers. All right, great. I am hoping to see at least some more upside, and I would love to see the tech just take off and retest that high and finish off the retest of that high to give us a topping pattern there. Unfortunately, as it looks now, it might well be that we'd lose the topping patterns on the others if tech did that. So we'll see. We've got an inflection point here. We are not necessarily going to turn over, but I've got to say the pattern setup is nice. I'm thinking it might well. We shall see. All right, great. In that case, that's a wrap. I'll catch you guys again on Wednesday. Everyone take care.